we got another exciting one for Sunday Night Football, Jets and the Raiders. Looking forward to this. Really excited to see Zach Wilson versus Aiden O'Connell, right? At least it's a Sunday night show, so we're going to do one of our quick hitters, 20-25 minutes, and see if we can't get this slate broken down quicker.
I'm looking more forward to that Thursday night game. Let's just get through these. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, like you said, we have a quick version of the show tonight. We're not going to go position by position, but we're going to spend most of our time building lineups. So let's jump right into this matchup, man. I feel like we've been talking way too much about the Jets and Raiders, you and me, on these shows lately because they've been in primetime quite a bit for whatever reason. But hey, there's money to be won here. I do think that this is probably a nasty, ugly game to watch. We saw what the Jets did last week. We're seeing the Raiders looking better. They fired Josh McDaniels. They looked good. You could always expect a team to look better, when they fire a coach midseason. That first game back, they're going to be fired up a little bit. But they were going up against the Giants. They put up 30 on the Giants, as they should. That was their highest point total of the year. Aiden O'Connell is now the guy. But, dude, he's facing the best defense in the league, basically, in the Jets. The best pass rush in the league, the best secondary. This is going to be tough. We still got to, no matter how good he looks, this is still a rookie quarterback. It's going to be a tough matchup for them. And I think that's represented here. When you look at, let me pull up the Vegas line here. When you look at this total, this is 36 total. This is back, like a 36 total is like back during COVID days when you had like 4-string quarterbacks starting. Like 36 is not fun. This is like a Broncos slate from last year. I mean, obviously, we're going to want to focus on defenses. We're going to want to focus on kickers in this matchup. But we're going to have to play some expensive guys. We're going to have to play some studs. We're going to have to figure that out, who we want to play, who we don't want to play. But with a 36 total, man, what are you focusing on? Like, are you building game scripts where maybe this is a little bit of a hits the over? Because we've seen it in primetime this year so far. Most of the time, these games hit the under.
Yeah, so this isn't one that I'm necessarily going to be looking at more game scripts for the over. Let me say this with a grain of salt. 36 is just a low total. Even if I would build for the over, like we're still talking about maybe 37, 38 and a half. Like I don't think I'm going more than a field goal over this line.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about building for the over, I think we're meaning more like 42 points or something. But no, I don't think this is a game you do that. The one thing that's been consistent outside of Zach Wilson being a shitty quarterback is that the Jets have a really, really good defense. So I just don't think that this is the best situation for Aiden O'Connell.
The Jets are 4-4, and they have basically a non-NFL quarterback playing for them. That just goes to show either how well this coaching staff has adapted as best as they can, waiting for Aaron Rodgers to have some sort of miracle ayahuasca trip that heals his Achilles, or their defense is the best ever. And it's grading out to, their defense is damn good. So we're going to have to try to figure out what to do with this. First in defense, 30th in offense. It sounds about right. When you go to the Raiders side, like we said, underwhelming offensively. They benched Jimmy G. They're paying him a shitload of money to hold a clipboard. But their defense hasn't been bad overall. And they're going up against a terrible, terrible, terrible offensive line for the Jets. So we're going to see some impact here by Crosby, most likely. Like, they're just not going to be able to stop this guy no matter how hard they try. When it comes to injuries, there's not really a lot to talk about here. We've got a few questionable dudes. Marcus Peters being questionable is a thing, so keep an eye on that. It's not really going to change my opinion too much because at the end of the day, Zach Wilson has to throw the ball. So I'm not like bumping up huge offensively for the Jets if Peters is out, but something worth mentioning. And on the Jets side, Chaz Surratt, an offensive lineman, nothing too crazy here. Anything jump out to you? You want to just move right into pulling up Draftkings here, messing around?
Yeah, I think we should just get right into building, man. Not too much crazy injury news to be mindful of.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's jump over to building here. So let's talk about salaries first, right? So Devontae Adams is 11.6K, Breece Hall 11.4, Josh Jacobs 11, And then you got Garrett Wilson at 96 and Jacoby Myers at 92. These quarterbacks are priced so low, DraftKings is begging us to basically play them. And shit, I probably will end up playing a little bit. But, dude, Davante Adams I don't think he's gotten over 60 yards in the last, 4 or 5 weeks. He just has not been feeling it. But his impact has been shown. They're clearly doubling him. They're shifting coverage over to one safety over to his side to double him. He's mainly on the left side of the offense. And it's opening things up for other players. Can we play a Davante Adams at 11.6K? I think the answer is always yes. I think you just have to, you have to play him almost. Now, you could probably fade a guy like that going up against a tough matchup. But what are you doing with Davante Adams here, dude? Because now, Josh Jacobs is 11K. He's just as expensive, but Josh Jacobs has a tough matchup, man. He's gotten 2 touchdowns. He got 2 touchdowns last week. He's going to be higher owned, and the SaberSim and some of these projections are loving him. I don't know that I love him in this one. So what are we doing with these 2 top studs for the Raiders?
I'm going to just make it easier on everybody. I'm going to say play Davante Adams. That means probably want to lean more towards Josh Jacobs. This is one that over the years, I think you've actually had a better grasp on than I have when it comes to Davante Adams. So I think I kind of lean more towards your route. I don't know if this is necessarily a slate that we need him. At 11.6, he is a potential. I'm not necessarily like a fade of the night candidate, but a guy that I'm just not going to necessarily get a bunch of exposure to just because of how expensive he is. I think I prefer Breece Hall just at this price range, and then even then, Josh Jacobs at at 11K, I still don't necessarily know that the upside is there. Again, the one thing that we know about this defense is they are good at or the Jets is that they are a good defense. So. Look, you're probably going to have to have at least one of these guys, but outside of that, I think you can kind of just lean more towards a balanced build.
And look, the Jets' run defense isn't the 85 Bears by any means. They've given up 100 plus yards plenty of times to teams in total this year. The one thing with Josh Jacobs is you probably want to see him get more involved in the pass game, and he just really hasn't that much lately. Breece Hall, it's got a good matchup here, man. He's 11.4K, and then you got Garrett Wilson at 9,600. Again, Garrett Wilson's priced down just because he's got a scrub throwing him the ball, and how often can he get it? But this offense is pretty centralized on a few players. So Garrett Wilson, even though there's not going to be a lot of points put up in this game, he's going to get targeted quite a bit. We got to go. I don't know that we could choose all 4 of these guys. I pretty much know that for a fact, unless we completely punt at captain. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions. Is this an either-or situation? Like, if we're going Davante, we don't go Jacobs. If we go Hall, we don't go Garrett Wilson. I don't think it's that simple, but, are you planning that out in any way when you start building?
Yeah, I think more for the Raiders side, right? I think if you have Adams or Jacobs, probably one of those guys goes off. I don't know if both those guys are going off for a combined 3 or 4 touchdowns or whatever, but the Raiders' offense is a little bit more diluted. They spread the ball out just a little bit more than the Jets. We know for certain Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are going to get the volume for New York. So, those are the 2 guys that I'm going to prioritize. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to choose between them, but I'm also those 2 comfortable with those 2 being the only exposure that I have to the Jets outside of maybe a kicker or defense.
Make sure you guys jump into the Discord. That's free. Obviously, also we have that Monday night show we're doing for our YouTube members. If you guys want to join that, it's $3.99 a month. Click down below, click join. You'll also get a private Discord channel just for the YouTube members where we'll be sharing a bunch more information and some more lineups. All right, so besides that, like I said earlier, we've got Zach Wilson at 8,600 and Aiden O'Connell, AOC, at 8,400. That might be the lowest I've ever seen 2 quarterbacks priced on a slate, minus some random COVID slate from a few seasons ago. What are we doing with these quarterbacks, dude? This is always the debate. It always feels like these cheap quarterbacks in a game where there's not going to be a lot of offense, maybe you can grab them because he's 8,400 at AOC. If he throws a touchdown and he gets a quarterback sneak or something random, you're probably going to need him. But, dude, I just don't see them getting, 15 plus points. But is that enough? What are your thoughts on these 2 quarterbacks? I'm not going to probably do any 2 quarterback builds, but I'm probably going to try to get at least one of these guys in with my stacks if I'm doing 2 4s or 4 2s or whatever, right?
Yeah, I guess take this next piece with a grain of salt. Just the way that Zach Wilson's been playing, I watch him play. It just looks like there's nothing behind those eyes. Like he's out there. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do at
Yeah.
quarterback?
Yeah.
Right? He looks he doesn't even look confused. He just looks like there's genuinely nothing going on. So when it comes to this, like I'm leaning kind of just fading Zach Wilson and playing a little bit more of AOC. I know that the Jets defense is really good, but that 8,400 price tag is just, I don't know, man. That's too much. Like, I think you're fine getting. You can get all of the Raiders' offense with him and fucking Josh Jacobs if you want. I don't know if it's necessarily the greatest play ever, but I think I prefer Aiden O'Connell over Zach Wilson. I don't know that I'm gonna end up getting any Zach Wilson this week.
So here's the issue, dude. Is who guards Davante Adams? Like typically, Davante Adams majority of the time this year is lined up on the left side of the offense, while Sauce Gardner majority of the time sticks to that left side of the defense, which would be the right side of the offense. So are we going to see DJ Reed, who's a shorter guy, going up against Davante Adams, or do they switch Sauce Gardner over there to man him up, put him on Gardner Island? I don't know, to be honest. I mean, you'd think that they would just put Sauce Gardner on Adams and pretty much not have to double him, which would be taking away, upside from some of these other guys across the middle. I don't know, man. Do you have any do you have any thoughts on that? Like, it's not a good matchup either way, but if Adams is on Sauce Gardner one-on-one the whole game, I like Davante Adams a lot, but his chances of getting over that 60 yards that he hasn't gotten to is probably a lot lower.
Yeah, man. Look, Davante Adams is Davante Adams. I'm not sure that any matchup is necessarily enough to keep him at bay. I just think it comes down to a lot of who he's had throwing him the ball. Now, I don't want to misstate this. Like, we need to take the movement that we've seen with the coaching staff for Las Vegas. Maybe it is going to help them do well. But look, we saw the same situation a couple years ago. They fired whoever they had. I feel like it was Josh McDaniel, the same fucking coach that they had 3 years ago. They fired him.
Gruden. It was Gruden. Gruden had some emails and shit like that. That was the Henry Ruggs season.
That's right. We're just going through it all over again, right? They won that first game. They had their little victory cigars, and then they're getting fucking clapped the next week or some shit. Anyways, I'm probably combining a lot of season into one. But look, man, this isn't necessarily the greatest the greatest matchup for Davante Adams in general. And quite frankly, I just don't know that it matters. Like, the corners are great on both ends, and then the defense holistically is good enough to keep Adams at bay. It's not just one person matching up against him.
Absolutely. Lazard 6,600. Tyler Conklin 5,200 had quite a few targets last week. Daniel Carlson 5K, so we got expensive kickers back. Raiders defense 46, Zerline 44, and Jets defense 42. I think we're going to have to pretty much reserve 2 roster spots for these defenses / kickers at minimum. You'd think you're probably going to want to get at least one defense. You're probably going to want to get at least one kicker in this matchup. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, man. 36 totals, no joke. Like, that might be the actual lowest total we've seen since COVID.
Yeah, for real. So we got Dalvin Cook, who I will not play. That dude should probably be released at this point. He's just not getting involved. Michael Carter at 1,800 is getting more involved. He's out there on third downs, and if this team is losing, you'll see Michael Carter in the fourth quarter and on third downs getting and 2-minute drives, getting some decent targets. At an 1,800, you got to keep an eye on a guy like Michael Carter. Mayer hasn't really been involved recently, so I don't know if this is an Aiden O'Connell thing, but I think you got to still consider a guy like that. On the low end here, you got Hunter Renfrow at 1K, who's getting more involved now. For whatever reason, he was in the doghouse of Josh McDaniels. He's $1,000. He's in the slot. He's going to get some opportunity. There was one touchdown pass that AOC missed, where he was wide open and he just didn't even look at him. Hunter Renfrow, in the red zone. Now Trey Tucker at 800. This is a guy we played with a few weeks ago. He didn't pay off, but we saw one big 50-yard catch from him that was nice little pass. He caught it falling down. That would have been a touchdown if he caught it in stride. And then later in that game, I believe, he had a deep bomb that it was he just stopped on. It was in the end zone. He had a chance to catch that. He had 2 basically touchdown deep targets in that game. And he's $800, dude. We got to look at Tucker again in this matchup. Of course, you got CJ Uzoma, who dropped a touchdown pass, I believe, last week. and who got involved. He was like $200 last week. Now he's $400. I think you got to consider playing a guy like him. You got Gibson, who can absolutely run one back and get involved in these crazy plays. What jumps out to you value-wise here?
I mean, I think the first is probably going to be CJ Uzomah. I mean, just last week alone, he had 5 targets, 2 receptions. Now, again, Jets suck, so I think it's worth taking with a grain of salt. But would you say $400 like that? That's really not terrible.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you're not planning on playing the 311K dudes, I'm not sure that you really need to start dipping your toes into the 1,000 and under area. I think kind of sticking around the kickers and defense and maybe going down to a guy like Michael Carter might even be more plus than or plus EV than some of this. But I think the 2 guys you got to consider Trey Tucker, CJ Uzomah, and then obviously Hunter Renfrow. Interesting to your point, right? Like I thought we would see a little bit more out of Renfrow with McDaniels being gone. He saw the same amount of targets as Trey Tucker last week. So again, it's a 1-game sample against the fucking New York Giants. Maybe things will change here, but those are probably the guys that I'm looking at: Uzomah, Tucker, and Renfrow.
The bottom line is, it feels like Renfrow, his stock is at least a little bit rising, as opposed to this guy's barely even on the field and he's going to get traded to. All right, we got kind of the old Hunter Renfrow rollback. Now, is he as good? No, but will he get 6-7 targets in some of these games? Probably at this point in the season. All right, so let's start building, dude. So let's find our captain. Let's build for, this $100, $50 single entry with maybe less than 1,000 people in it. This is kind of what we're going to start with building here. Who do we got to go with, dude? I mean, is this a Garrett Wilson situation since he's cheaper? Breece Hall going up against a good matchup with Vegas rush defense, who gave up quite a few yards to Saquon last week, even in a blowout. I don't know. What are you thinking here, man? Do we have to go with Davante Adams just right off the bat and see how building is?
Let's start with I don't think I'll have Davante Adams at captain, to be honest. I think Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are going to be the 2 guys that I'm looking for cast or single entry. So I think we start there and go from there. I think at this point, next option is Adams or Jacobs, and I think I'm leaning probably Adams, which means we should play Jacobs.
Dude, I hear you though. Like I honestly think yes. Has Davante done well? No. Recently, but he's still Davante Adams, and at any given point he can have 2 touchdowns. But this is just a tough damn matchup, and I think his ownership will be depressed. So it's a decent opportunity to get some volume out of him, because he still has been getting targeted. They just haven't connected the way they should have. So all right, so Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams. Let's get Breece Hall in here. Let's skip out on Josh Jacobs, and let's go directly to the kickers and defense. So you want to get some Jets defense in here against the rookie. Probably should. They're only 4,200.
I like Jets, and I actually like Dan Carlson. And then kind of just seeing where we're at that point.
So now we got 3,400 left. So we're gonna have to punt in some way. Pick your poison here. Like Abdullah is getting involved as a pass blocker on 3rd downs, even though his grade wasn't good according to PFF. Josh Jacobs cannot block on 3rd down or in these 2-minute drills. So you might see a little bit more Abdullah, but still not a very good punt. I don't like any of these guys as backups. Michael Carter here, maybe. This doesn't feel very good though to me. Like maybe a Hunter Renfrow type for a cash build where you can probably get 5-6 fantasy points out of him just from receptions. Trey Tucker to me seems like more of a GPP option. I wouldn't play him in this lineup. I don't know. Is this an Uzomah situation? I don't like this build. Like I don't like paying down this much here.
Yeah, so this is what I would say, right? To your point, right? Go ahead and throw in Uzomah just real quick.
Okay.
I think what you're gonna do though, if this is what you're liking, you go ahead and pull out Garrett Wilson, throw Breece Hall in a captain. I think you're gonna have the salary to do that. Like this would be a situation to max that out if you're gonna punt and put Uzomah there.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Yeah, and then you still got a little bit of money on the table here.
You still have a shitload of salary.
Yeah. All right, so not bad. Let's build one more of the single entry and try to get there. So let's do. Damn, I don't even know, dude. Like it. We can't go too low. I don't think I want to go too low. Like, do you want to throw a defense at captain here for a single entry?
Not for a single entry. I think we can do that for a GP build. But here, go ahead and throw in. Let's do Garrett Wilson again at captain. Do Davante Adams, Breece Hall, and throw in Aiden O'Connell, and then let's see what we do for those last 2 spots.
Okay. So can get no, we can't. We can't get it to any kicker or any defense. So for a single entry, I don't want to do that. I don't.
No.
So I mean, well, let's try it. I mean, are you into that? Let's do it.
No, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. Like we should have at least one kicker or at least one defense at minimum in this single entry. Now let's build a GPP lineup with, you know, let's say there's 100,000 plus entries. Now we can get a little weird with it, because this is a weird game where if one random player scores a touchdown, that could change the entire slate. If this was a 50 total, we might not have to worry about that as much. What do we do here? What's our game script? Do you want to do like a Jets win, but like, you know, field goal fest and low scoring?
Yeah.
Breece Hall?
I mean, yeah, we can do Breece Hall. You can even throw in the Jets defensive captain. Like, this is a slate I might actually do something like that.
And they're not priced up that much.
Captain. I haven't played a defense captain this entire year.
Well, this might be the one to do it on. So Jets defense at captain. Let's throw Breece Hall along with him down there. Now, where do we go from here? Do we want to get one of Devontae or Josh Jacobs? I mean, I don't think you have to play either of these guys. You probably should, because most of the volume is going to go to these two guys. But does that mean either one of these guys is going to score a touchdown? I don't know. But for this sake, let's just pick one of these Adams Jacobs.
Let's go with Jacobs. We did Adams in the last one.
And you could probably switch Adams out here, but do you want to get a little Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson action here?
Do it.
Let's try it. So this is not a bad build so far here. We got one Vegas guy, Josh Jacobs, hopefully getting involved in the pass game there. Do we want to get? We probably want to do a 4-2 here, or we could go 5-1. We could put like Michael Carter in, or Hunter Renfrow. Maybe this is a Hunter Renfrow situation here.
Probably Hunter Renfrow.
I think leaving
points off reception.
I think leaving money on the table is probably the way to go on this slate.
Yeah,
it's just based on what we're building here so far. So Jets defense at captain with Breece Hall, Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, and then run back with Jacobs and Hunter Renfrow. That's a fine build. Let's go with Breece Hall here now in a GPP build. Let's fade. Let's do this. Let's do like a 2-4 here. Let's do Hall and Garrett Wilson. And then let's do like an O'Connell, like trailing in the fourth quarter, garbage time type of a game here. Do you want to try that? Or do you want to get some Jets defense in here too? You're like a 3-3? I don't know. What do you think?
No, I don't mind the 2-4. I think this is a good situation for them to do that. Aiden O'Connell. I also think, I mean, you can do Devontae Adams. I think you can consider playing Jacoby Myers too instead.
Yeah, agreed.
Save a little bit of money. But
you could.
800, 2,500.
So we got Tucker in there as well. 2,500 left over. So this is a Hunter Renfrow maybe even. So Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, AOC, Adams, Tucker, Renfrow. Let's do what you said here. Let's go with Jacoby Myers instead. I think we got to keep an eye on Myers. I think he's going to be one of these guys that's probably a little bit lower owned, but can absolutely go off with all that attention going to Devontae Adams. So what we got here is Aiden O'Connell, Myers. You're probably going to want to get at least one of this Renfrow Tucker situation. Let's go Tucker here just because we can. And that leaves us open with some defense. Raiders defense, Zerline, Jets defense. I mean, dude, I don't hate this. I don't hate a Raiders defense here.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I like that. It's a bit contrarian too. I mean, you got Hall at captain, but I mean, man, Max Crosby could have 9 sacks by himself.
Well, dude, what did the Jets give up last week? Like 8 sacks or something? And the week before against like a not so great defense in the actually no, that was last week. That was against the Chargers. They gave up 8 sacks, 9 sacks. I mean, that was ridiculous. So just because even if the Raiders give up 21 real life points, if they get you 8 sacks and maybe a pick,
right?
I mean, that's a huge deal. All right, let's build one more. Let's build one more here. Let's see. What do you want to do? You want to go weird with it? You want to get Jacoby Myers? You want to get?
Let's. I was going to say Jacoby Myers. We should probably do a Vegas captain, considering we haven't done one yet.
Yeah, true. So if Jacoby Myers goes off, it doesn't necessarily mean that Devontae Adams can't get you there at 11.6K, but 11.6K, you probably need a decent amount out of him. So where are we going here? Do you want to go Jacoby, AOC, You want to go Jacobs? You want to do another 2-4 here, like an opposite game script to what we just did?
So I would go AOC, and then another guy we haven't built with yet that I think is interesting. Throw in Michael Mayer, and then I think let's see where we go from here.
Okay, cool. So Myers, AOC, Mayer. Who do we want to get from the Jets here? Either Hall or Wilson, or we can get both.
Yeah, let's go Hall and Wilson and see where we're at.
32.
Tight,
32. So the usual suspects here: Renfro, Tucker. If Randall Cobb is active, I'm probably not touching him. But he was $200 last week. Now he's $1,400, so I'm probably not playing him. But Michael Carter here potentially, or Hunter Renfro. It feels like Hunter Renfro is like in a perfect spot, either him or Trey Tucker here as that last piece for these tournament builds. Myers, AOC, Mayer, and Renfro with Hall and Wilson. Obviously, we don't have Jacobs or Adams in this one. Let's build one more. Where do you want to go? You want to go Adams captain, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, let's go Adams captain. We haven't done that.
All right, Adams. We don't have to put AOC here. Do you want to do Adams and Jacobs and capture that entire offense?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do Adams, Jacobs, and then I would do
Jets defense.
Throw in Breece Hall.
Jets defense. Let's do it. I kind of like this. I kind of like this build. I don't know why. I like this 2-4 with the defense in the 4.
Well, so here's what I would do with this lineup. Just throw in Carlson and then fucking play Uzoma. Right? I think Uzoma is a guy that's not going to completely destroy your Jets exposure. But
and, dude, Uzoma's on the field a lot. Like Uzoma's on the field. We saw him get opportunities. He's not going to get you 10, 15 fantasy points, but if you get 9 fantasy points, 8 fantasy points, you're probably going to be feeling pretty good. Adams at captain with Jacobs in the flex, and you got Breece Hall at Jets defense, Carlson, and Uzoma. So there it is, folks. There's your awesome game for Sunday Night Football. There's money to be won here, though. Like I said in the other one, I feel like these two teams are relatively well known. Like people know the players, but are they digging deep enough to find some of these value plays? Did they watch last week's game? Was Uzoma dropping a touchdown and getting involved? Who knows? So I feel like there's an opportunity to actually, have some leverage on the field. Who probably most people are not going to spend more than a couple minutes on their phones just hand building, because it's such a nasty looking game. What are your thoughts on this total here, man? The Jets are favored. It's kind of a pick 'em here. I think the Raiders can win this game, but dude, who knows, man? Flip a coin, right? What are your thoughts here for final score?
Yeah, man. I'm just nervous seeing any game where the Jets are favored. But it makes sense against the backup quarterback and a second game head coach or whatever it is. So, look, man. I think in a situation like this, you kind of rely on Vegas. They got the line set at 36. They don't do that for pro teams, so trust that the defenses and the quarterbacks suck in this one. Defense is good, quarterbacks suck. Yeah.
It's true, but the DraftKings is smart though. They're enticing us with those cheap quarterbacks. They're wanting us to play them. All right, guys. So, like I said, join down below to join our members to see that Monday Night Football game tomorrow night. We'll probably post that tomorrow morning or early in the day, and join that free Discord. Besides the stuff we talked about in the show, we get real deep as we're getting closer to lock. Obviously, main slate's going on right now. But we're done with main slate. I'm fully on Sunday night right now, minus some late swaps and stuff like that. I'm fully preparing for this matchup. So jump in that Discord, hang out with us, talk before we hit lock, and we will see you guys for Monday Night Football.